Hey Spidey fans, what's up Frontline fans? This is Comic Frontline, and fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to bring you Spidey Classics Volume 2, Episode number 3. And today, guys, we're talking about 1970, The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 86. That's right, guys. This book is just absolutely classic. You can see that it's all ratted up, and just the shape that this book in is just really rough. But nevertheless, I have a copy. I'm happy to own it. And yes, and it says, beware of the Black Widow. That's right, guys. This book has the origin of the Black Widow, and it's the first time that you get to see her in her new costume, because in this issue you get to see what she wore when she was with the Avengers in here. So I thought that this would be a good one to share if you wanted to know the origin of Natasha and the way she looked back in the day before she wore that sleek and sexy costume that she wears today. So again, this book was made in 1970, and the author was, yes, Stan Lee, and the art was done by John Romita and Jim Mooney. This book has classic written all over it. The artwork is awesome. You get to see the way Natasha looks in this issue. You get to see the way she looks in her old costume if you haven't ever seen that before. We get to see some old school Nick Fury in this book as well. Even Gwendy is in this. Yes, Gwen Stacy is in this particular issue. You get to see her with just iconic Peter Parker in here, and just all the way around, this book is really well done. And I guess some of the best panels in here was seeing Black Widow don that new costume for the first time in 1970. And it's kind of funny how it's pretty much, stayed the same ever since. She did wear a gray costume, but now she's back in the costume that she wears today. So now that I talked about the artwork, how do I feel about this story? Well, the narration in this book is just awesome, as it has Stan Lee all over it. I mean, just his narration is iconic. He's just like, oh, it's the web swinger, he's going down, it's just awesome. And in the last issue, you wind up seeing Spider-Man suffering from a big beating from the Kingpin here, and you get to see that throughout this issue, that he is just worried that his powers are going to be diminished, that his powers will be no more. And as that's going on, we get to see, yes, that origin tale of Black Widow, where she came from, how origin happened, how she was in love with Hawkeye, and how things went south for her, and she decided to become the Black Widow once again. She felt that she had to change her identity. She had to come up with this new costume, and she felt that she had to be equal to Spider-Man, and she wanted to see how Spider-Man's powers work so she could be the strongest villain that there is. When Peter comes home from battling the Kingpin, Gwen is showing all the concern for him, and Peter is just like, I can't let her know my secret. How much do they actually know? And so there was all kinds of paranoia that was setting in. So once the Black Widow winds up sitting there getting her costume all together, we wind up seeing her go after Spider-Man. And the way Black Widow's powers were back then, especially in this particular issue, you would think that she is like Silk, like she is today. You get to see her, train and climb walls and, web line just like Spider-Man. And even J. Jonah Jameson gives a second look, because he's like, what? What's going on there? A female Spider-Man? That can't happen. No way can that happen at all. And his dialogue in the book is just absolutely iconic. You see him sticking out with the big cigar there. And we wind up seeing this battle erupt between Spider-Man and Black Widow in this entire issue. And just when you think that Black Widow gets the upper hand on Spider-Man, Spider-Man collects his thoughts as he's still dealing with a concussion or whatever it is that he's dealing with, against what happened with the Kingpin, and he winds up overthrowing Black Widow. Now, my problem with this battle is that Black Widow had the upper hand for most of the time, and just at the right moment, Spider-Man clogs the web shooters, and right away Black Widow's like, his powers are better than mine. I'm going to escape for the next time. And it just ended so abruptly, just like that. But that was the end of the battle. By the end of it, we get to see Peter Parker, who is actually testing his blood to see if his powers are diminishing. That's basically how the issue ends here. So what did I think about Amazing Spider-Man issue number 86? I thought it was a good read. It was entertaining to see where Natasha came from. It was entertaining to see, what she wore in the past going into the costume that she wears today. I loved reading the narration from Stan Lee in this particular issue, just because he's just kind of like introducing other characters, and even himself thought that certain elements were taking too long to discuss. So he's like, well, before I bore you to death, let's talk about, the Black Widow as we get to our main story. And you can hear Stan Lee's voice in this book. The art by John Romita is absolutely priceless. This is the Peter Parker that maybe all of you have known from the past. Even if you didn't grow up with this version of Spider-Man, this is still the Spider-Man that you know. And to see Gwen Stacy in this issue being Peter Parker's love interest in this book was also awesome, because this was before the Mary Jane time. And it was good to see Peter interact with all those characters. And it did leave somewhat of a cliffhanger of what Peter is kind of going through. Is he losing his powers? Is he not losing his powers? However, I did think it was overdone. He was constantly like, I'm dizzy. I'm going to fall. I'm going to black out. I must go to the bedroom. I must get to here before Harry comes home. And of course, Aunt May is in this issue. And what is she? She's sick. She's always sick. She was sick in every single issue of The Amazing Spider-Man in the 70s. She's just this wrinkled up old lady. And it's funny how in modern day comics, like they de-aged her. She's like found the fountain of youth, and she's not like that old crippled old woman again. However, this is a nostalgic issue of classic Amazing Spider-Man, and if you haven't read it yet, I definitely suggest go out and read it. It's a lot of fun to see this battle between him and Natasha, and this is the first meeting between these two. So again, a lot of fun. And if I hold it up to today's standards, I probably gotta give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It's just great reading that old school writing, how it was back in the 70s. So guys, if you've read this book below, please keep the discussion going and give me a shout out and talk about it. And if you didn't know that Natasha first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man, or at least this was the first time they're met, at least now you know now. So guys, this has been Spidey Classics Volume 2, Episode number 3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any recommendations on any Spider-Man books that you want reviewed or talked about, please leave them again in those comments below. So again, guys, this is Comic Frontline, and thanks for watching, and this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Take care, guys. Bye.